Good afternoon. This is the regularly scheduled meeting for the Caldwell Hearing Examiner. This is Wednesday, July 16th, and it is 1:30. This is a public hearing, and my name is Sabrina Durchie. I'll be serving as your hearing examiner today. My role is to hear quasi-judicial matters concerning specific land use applications within the City of Caldwell. During this process, we'll accept oral public testimony from those who are present and have signed the sign-up sheet to speak, which is located in the front of the room. When you are called to testify, please approach the podium, speak clearly into the microphone, and state your full name and address for the record. All comments should be directed to myself, the hearing examiner, and should remain relevant to the application under consideration. The hearing will proceed as follows. The city staff will present the report. The applicant or the applicant's representative will be then given 10 minutes to speak. We will then open the floor for public testimony. Speakers will be called in the order of those signed up in favor, neutral, or in opposition to the application. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. After public testimony, the applicant or the applicant's representative will have 5 minutes for a rebuttal. Once rebuttal has concluded, I will close the public hearing. At that point, no further oral or written testimony will be accepted unless the hearing is formally reopened. And I ask that all participants treat one another with fairness and respect. As required by Idaho State Code, written minutes for this hearing will be recorded. Therefore, please ensure your cell phones are silenced for the duration of the meeting. Now, let's start. This is our special meeting agenda for today. And let's take a look at the agenda. For the consent calendar, we have an action item to approve our previous hearing for May 27th, which has been signed. I have no old business, and so we can move on to new business. Our first public hearing will be case number SUP 25-9. Applicant Tyrell Earlback of the Empire LLC is requesting a special use permit for a tobacco retail store to be located in the city center zoning district. It is .06 acre site and is addressed at 222 South 6th Avenue. Staff, please.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Garlene Davis, Planner 1, 205 South 6th Avenue, Caldwell. The application before you today is SUP 25000009 for the Empire LLC for a tobacco, vape, and glassware retailer. The subject site is located on the west side of South 6th Avenue, north of the intersection with Blaine Street. The site has frontages on South 6th Avenue and on Blaine Street. The site will be accessed off of South 6th Avenue, and there is no direct vehicular access to the site. The site lies within the city center district. It is in close proximity to a variety of uses, including the city hall, commercial uses, residences, a place of worship, and Indian Creek Plaza. The subject site was part of the foundational configuration of the city of Caldwell. It is situated within the city center zone. The existing building on the parcel was most recently used for automotive repair service business, but has been vacant for the past year. There are no known previous land use application or entitlement associated with the parcel. The applicant is proposing to operate a tobacco, vape, and glassware retail shop within the city center zone. The store will specialize in the sale of tobacco product, including cigars, cigarettes, and related accessories. The site and surrounding parcels are designated as downtown core on the comprehensive plan. This mixed-use focused area supports a dense blend of commercial, entertainment, residential, and civic uses. The place type promotes infill development with adaptive reuse of existing buildings. Staff finds that the proposal is consistent with the city's vision for the downtown core. The City Center District aims to foster a vibrant urban core by encouraging a mix of land uses that will enable residents to live, work, play, and shop within the same area. Per Caldwell City Code Section 10-01-10, a tobacco retail shop is defined as a business primarily engaged in the sales of loose tobacco, plants, cigars, cigarettes, pipes, e-cigarettes, and other smoking devices. So the tobacco shop is an allowed use in the city center as defined in the code,
Okay.
with a special use permit.
Okay.
The proposed development project has been analyzed for compliance, and staff finds that the project meet all city zoning ordinances for parking. Caldwell City Code Section 10-12-04, subsection 16, paragraph C, allows for parking requirements to be met by any combination of on-street or off-street parking in the city center zone. And these options for off-street parkings are located within 800 feet of the proposed site. All necessary utilities are or will be available as outlined in the engineering staff report and must meet the City of Caldwell's requirements. The applicant is providing 1 tree less than required to keep out of the vision triangle per city code. Staff finds that the proposed landscaping complies with code requirement. Relevant public agencies have been notified of this public hearing, and some have provided comments. The fire and engineering departments have approved the project and provided conditions of approval. We did reach out to the chief of police for comments. We did not receive comments. We also did not receive any public comments on the project. A design review is required due to the site's locations and the city center. The design review application has been submitted and is currently pending administrative approval. A separate sign permit is required for the signage depicted on the submitted site plan. The applicant or owner shall comply with all applicable local, state, and federal regulations regarding the sale and purchase of tobacco products and related accessories. Staff recommends that should the hearing examiner approve the special use permit, such approval be subject to the conditions as specified in the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and order of decision. Thank you. Now I will stand for questions.
Thank you. I do have one question. Since this is downtown, is this in an urban renewal district?
No, it is just outside it.
It's just outside of it. Oh, okay. Okay. Would the applicant or the applicant's representative like to come up, please? State your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Jessica Ott. My address is 542 Southwest 1st Street, Ontario, Oregon, 97914.
Thank you.
And thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I am here on behalf of the Erlebach family to discuss their proposal to open a glass, smoke, and vape shop in the downtown Caldwell neighborhood. The Erlebach family is strongly family-oriented and places a high value on building meaningful relationships with those around them. They want this business to reflect those values, focusing on the professionalism, community engagement, and being a considerate neighbor. Our goal is to create a well-managed, attractive, and welcoming retail space that supports the ongoing revitalization of the downtown area. The Erlebachs are committed to being a positive and responsible presence in the community. The shop will operate in full compliance with all state and local ordinances and will maintain respectful and appropriate business hours. Importantly, the store will operate as a standard retail establishment. There will be no on-site lounge, consumption area, or hangout space for customers. This is a retail-only business focused on maintaining a clean, efficient, and professional environment. As part of their investment in the neighborhood, the Erlebachs are also undertaking a remodel of the existing building. While the structure itself will largely remain the same, the exterior will be improved and modernized to better reflect the character of downtown Caldwell. They will also be adding tasteful landscaping to enhance the building's appearance and contribute positively to the curb appeal of the neighborhood. We also recognize the importance of preserving the neighborhood's character and atmosphere. We are committed to doing our part to support its growth, safety, and long-term success, and we are open to working with the city and community to address any concerns. Thank you again for your time and consideration. We welcome any questions that you have.
Great. Thank you, Jessica. So I guess, can you, come back, a few questions.
Sorry.
Can you tell me about the current state of the existing building and in your plans? You're not going to demo the building, you're going to be using the structure
Yes.
for the remodel? Okay.
Yes. The only thing that we plan to change about the structure is we will be adding a few windows to meet the requirements for the city, but the rest of the building, and then also the top, will be adding the little outcropping for the top of the building. But as far as any other remodel, yeah, we're just making the inside better and then fixing up the outside a little bit more.
Okay, great. And what's the state of the building right now? I saw a picture and it seems it's run down.
Yeah, it's in some pretty rough shape. So the plan is to pretty much blast it and make it as clean as possible, and then they want to do a stucco exterior with brick on the bottom half of the building. And then, yeah, stucco, a different colored stucco, just a little bit darker of a gray on the corners to kind of give it a little character there. But yeah, then just upgrading the windows and then adding the landscaping to it is, we're not trying to do too much to change it.
What do you think, just get your plans of hours of operation are going to be?
The hours of operation are going to be similar to the location that we have in Ontario, which is 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay, great. I don't think I have any other questions. Thank you for the moment. It looks like we have some other people that like to speak, so you'll have to come back up for your rebuttal. Okay, thank you. Next I have in favor is Ryan McCauley. Do you want to speak, Ryan? You didn't mark. Come up.
Sure.
Come up.
Ryan McCauley, 4868 Riverfront Place, Garden City, Idaho. I just wanted to add to what Jessica was saying. The existing building is 2,000 square feet. Its structure is under review. It's an existing CMU building with a stucco face, and our plan would be to evaluate the structural stability of the structure, which we believe to be adequate, and then add a brick fascia, new storefront, window system, awnings, and all in compliance with the City of Caldwell
Okay.
design requirements.
Ryan, are you the architect?
I am the architect.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you submitted the design review
Yes.
application, and that's pending. Is it pending based on today's, or is it pending because it hasn't been reviewed yet?
It is not pending based on today. It is pending based on staff timeline.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, great. Do we need to have, is a condition in there that they meet the design review requirements?
We do have a condition
Okay,
on
perfect.
there
Okay.
that it will be depending on the DR.
Okay,
Yes.
great. I don't think I have any other questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I don't have anyone in neutral to sign, but I have a few in opposition. Is it Shane?
Sean.
Oh, Sean, would you like to come up, please?
Sure.
State your name and address. Thank you.
Sean Mabin, 904 Dearborn. My main concern, I think, may be taking care of a design review, but there's also a parking concern. But maybe this is a question for Joe. Is there's not a design review hearing, it's administrative? And I ask that because we just did a design review hearing for our project.
Yeah, Madam Chair, that is correct. It's just a administrative level. It's pending my final review with the building. Basically, I've reviewed it 3 or 4 times already, but
Okay.
it's definitely going to be better looking than what it was, I'll tell you that.
Okay, yeah, and I just want to make sure that that design is something that is, something Caldwell wants, because Caldwell's downtown is a desirable place, And we want to make sure that that stays consistent, and we don't want to necessarily have something in there that's not going to be
Sure.
pleasing to the eyes and whatnot.
Sure, thank you. And I think that's why we have our design review standards, to make sure the elevations of the building are going to meet the downtown requirements. But you did have some concerns with parking. Do you want to elaborate on that a
Yeah,
little
with
bit more for
parking,
me?
it doesn't appear that there's any one, and it may comply with code, but there's not one single parking spot on site, not even one. And so it seems like it's going to be a retail store that's going to have quite a bit of traffic coming in and out, and they're not going to be able to access anything but the front of the building. And so then whatever parking they're going to have in 800 feet is going to be probably not going to be working the best. But if the parking can be straightened out and the design is good, I mean, those are just conditions that need to be met in the process. But
Sure.
my main opposition is to make sure it's a nice building and that there's
Absolutely.
parking that's feasible.
Okay.
Maybe it's the code, but it's still going to need to be feasible.
And staff, they're going to do off-street parking along Blaine.
Madam Chair, no, they're not going to do any off-street
Okay,
because the building is the size of the lot.
okay.
there is no
But there's
available-
off-street parking for them, for clients to use.
It's just going to be street parking.
Yeah.
Along
Okay.
Blaine.
Okay, on
Yeah.
Blaine. Okay, great.
Or sorry, not Blaine. Apologies. 6th. Blaine you cannot park on.
Okay, on
On
6.
6th, there will be, and then again, code within the downtown city center allows you to have, count the parking within 800 feet, give or take, and that's what they're utilizing, which is most of the businesses down here.
Standard for downtown businesses. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And our project will use something like that as well.
Correct.
But we have at least one parking spot on site, so it's a little bit different.
Sometimes it's trickier when downtown and stuff, when
Yeah,
the
yeah.
parcels are limited. Okay,
No,
no,
I
I
agree.
understand. I
Yep.
appreciate your comments.
All right,
Thank you. Okay, next I have Glenn. Coach, do you want to speak? Hello.
My name is Glenn Koch. I live at 23306 Freezeout Road, Caldwell, Idaho. Thank you for allowing us to come and express our deep concerns about this tobacco store that's coming right next to our property. We fully understand why this out-of-state company has chosen this prime Caldwell location. It's an ideal spot to easily attract young college students and introduce them to the addictive, deadly tobacco habit. There is not a deficient number of tobacco stores in Caldwell at this location. 2 blocks to the west on this location is a Tobacco Connection store. 2 blocks to the east at this location on Blaine Street is another Tobacco Connection store. There are presently 6 tobacco stores located throughout the city of Caldwell. I have 6 quick handouts, and each one has one point that I want to...
Glenn, you'll need to give that to staff, and they'll make it an exhibit. Thank you. Can you tell me what's in it? The packet, Glenn? While they get that?
Commencing with sheet number 1, this information is produced by the CDC, a federal agency. It's called Center for Disease Control. Commencing with sheet number 1, in 2022, cigarette companies spent $8.1 billion advertising and promoting tobacco. Sheet number 2, they spent $8.6 billion advertising cigarettes and smokeless tobacco. Sheet number 3, in 2018, cigarette smoking cost the United States more than an estimated $600 billion. Included in that $600 billion are more than $240 billion in health care spending nearly 185 billion in lost productivity. 180 billion in lost productivity on smoke-related premature deaths. About 7 billion in lost productivity from premature deaths just from secondhand smoke. Sheet number 4. Nearly 9 out of 10 adults who smoke daily begin smoking at the age of 18. This again speaks to the excellent college location that these people have chosen. Sheet number 5, there's a strong relationship between youth smoking, depression, anxiety, and stress. Teenage suicide in Idaho is a huge problem.
Glenn, your
There
3
was a
minutes
s-
just came up. Can you,
I'm
your
s-
3 minutes just expired. Can you wrap up a little bit for me, please? Are you almost done?
Time?
Yeah, your time
Okay.
is up.
All right.
Just summarize.
Time is up.
Yes.
We were not aware that there was a time limit.
Yeah, there's only 3 minutes given for public testimony. But I did get your point. Thank you, Glenn. I have Jan? Coach, John, sorry, excuse me, John. John, would you like to please come up, maybe summarize? Thank you. You'll be given 3 minutes as well.
Okay.
Name and address.
John Koch, 23382 Freezeout Road, Caldwell. I just wanted to talk, Dad mentioned the location. I wanted to talk a little bit about good neighbor side of things. We try to be a good neighbor. Our property butts up against the back of the building that we're talking about. And when they begin construction on this building, and construction has started, they asked us if we could use, if they could use our parking lot for the construction, during the construction time, and we told them sure. Tacos Colima is what our building is, and Tacos has changed. It's no longer a sit-down restaurant. They use the kitchen.
Can we bring up a site plan so I can see where their business is? Or just
Anyhow,
keep going, please?
they use the kitchen for taco truck now,
Okay.
so we don't have traffic in on the parking lot. So we said, sure, you can park your trucks there while you're doing construction. So we allowed that to happen, and I want to present staff with a picture. That's a picture of what our parking lot looks like now. And it's not just trucks that were parked there. And that's the way it has sat for 6 months. You can see the dumping that was done with stucco all over the parking lot, still bags of concrete there.
Okay.
There's scaffolding set up on our property. The line is the back, our property line is the back of that building.
Okay, okay.
So anyhow, also the other picture then is on the street side. It doesn't show, it doesn't show real well there, but all of the kochia that's growing along on the street side, no weed control happening.
Okay.
The other big concern I have is, and nobody's addressed when it says the glass part of it. That's the application, in the application. That is defined as stuff to smoke with, particularly pot. And where their other store in Ontario is legal to smoke pot, if you're bringing in stuff to smoke pot with, and then they can send them to Ontario to smoke pot, and that being right next to the college, it's just not a good situation. It may be legal, but let's use some logic and just say that this is not the right business next to the college. And here's an example of good neighbors.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, John.
Yes.
I appreciate it. Next, I have Twyla Carmen. Yes, please come up.
I'm Twyla Carmine, and I live at 5888 South Bryan Way, Boise, Idaho. I am co-owners of the property with my sister Elaine Tice that are on the church side or the parsonage side on 6th Avenue.
Okay.
Our property basically butts up, I think maybe there's 6 inches between our property lines and our property. Used to be Fabrics by Elaine, and it has since been taken, the building's been taken down because of it just not being safe and stable. It was deteriorating
Okay.
in a great way. So our property is located next to the building in question. We are not in favor of the proposed remodel of the building into a tobacco retail store or vape shop and glassware. Our hope would be that the city council and Caldwell would prefer something more family-oriented to occupy that space. And I think maybe, something that would even enhance the property that we have there. And basically complement what already has been done to make downtown Caldwell a safe and family-friendly environment for families to spend time together. I think safety is a big, huge concern. I think we want to all be able to walk by a building and feel safe. And I think sometimes there's a question about that when you have lots of people coming and going, whether that's some area that you want to maybe possibly avoid. I believe, and we believe, a tobacco retail store does not fit that criteria and does not reflect our values. There are already numerous, as has already been stated, tobacco stores in that close proximity to that area. We just really don't feel that there's a need for another one. And basically, that's it.
Okay. Do you have any issues with the parking lot or the construction that's going on right now? As John had
We haven't, no one
discussed?
contacted us. We just happened to see that the scaffolding was up, and it is partially on our property.
Okay.
It would have been nice if someone would have contacted us and asked if it was okay to do that, but no one ever contacted us about that at all.
Okay.
And so we basically have just allowed it to stay where it's at.
Okay.
Trying to
Okay.
not cause a problem.
Okay. No, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you for
I
your
appreciate
time.
it.
Appreciate it.
Kevin Everson is next up. Hello.
Kevin Everson, we have the property at 208 South 6th on the corner. It's our triplex. The problems that we would have with parking, that there is no parking, and not only the parking spaces, but when the spaces are full, everybody's looping around. And it creates more and more traffic. In their downtown area has been set up we pay extra taxes, we're in the downtown area for the activities to support families, children going in. The more traffic that we get, plus with the businesses they're talking about going in, it's a quick in and out. So it has to be more and more traffic coming in and out, people backing in and out or whatever. It prevents a way higher risk of some kid getting hit trying to get to the water area or something like that going through there. As well, you guys know, with the parking situation working out of this building here. We also are concerned with the hours to 10 o'clock at night with light pollution, signage, all of this with our residential building right next to it there. Most of my tenants there have children. They're, like, we know that everybody's lot is contained within the building, takes up almost the whole area. So the kids there are playing on the sidewalk right there, all these, cars coming in and out, people walking past there, whatever poses a risk. Also feel that it would hurt our property value as far as the residential property within that area.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, actually, Joe, would you mind, can we get a site? I just want to see where your property's at.
We have the vacant lot between,
Thank you.
there's the vacant lot right next to it, and then ours is the triplex right there on the corner. So just towards the church there on the corner, 2086.
So in that corner, okay.
Correct. So as you see that little grass area, I mean, that's basically where, any kids would play right on that sidewalk. So anybody that's parking there is walking right past there to get to their thing, or if, and as you see, I mean, we have, they're talking parking spaces or whatever, we have 3 units there, so all there is street parking. So when our tenants, when they're not at work, are taking up, spots right there. And so if those spots are taken, I don't, then there's really no place. And so I know that, so I don't know if, it seems like if the thing is with the parking issue or whatever, that, I mean, there's properties right there that if they wanted to make an attempt to purchase one of those, that creates parking that would be off-street for them. But I don't know if anybody,
That'll be a great question for the applicant in their
Correct.
rebuttal time.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here that would like to come up and testify on this matter? Okay. Applicant's representative, please come back up. You have your rebuttal time, and then we have a list of concerns that I'm hoping that you'll address during this time. So, thank you.
Okay, so as far as the parking goes, we will be doing the sidewalk there where it is an entrance to the radiator shop. We will be making that a sidewalk and closing off that egress route into the shop.
Can you point to where area is that?
On the South 6th Street,
Okay.
that there's that the egress into the shop where it's
Okay, you're going to
the
put
en-
parking there?
Yes, we're
Okay.
gonna make that a curb and a sidewalk, and then there will be a couple additional parking spots that could be added there. I know we cannot add parking to the Blaine sites, but on the South 6th Avenue, we will attempt to do that. As far as the hours of operation, the 10 o'clock concern, we can definitely work with the owner as far as the light pollution and trying to be respectful of that, and maybe getting a dimmer so that way it's not as bright, so it won't be affecting, or finding some way to kind of block it off
Okay.
for them. We definitely do want to try to work with everybody and address all concerns in any way that we can. I do want to apologize for the state of the parking lot. I was unaware of that. I'm fairly new to the project, so I do want to apologize for that, and we will absolutely make it right.
Do you have their contact information?
I will-
Someone must have, because they contacted them.
I'm imagining Tyrell, the owner, has
Okay.
and was the point of contact on that I was unaware of, and I can get with him on that and make that right. As well as the scaffolding, he can definitely address that as well, of it being on their side of the property line. I was unaware that that was that close. But yeah, we definitely want to be a good neighbor and do what we need to do that, so.
One of the neighbors came up and says there's too many tobacco stores. What's your opinion on that?
I mean, there's definitely a few, but we definitely think that we could still, make a profit there and be a way to kind of advocate a little bit more for safe use. We definitely want to not contribute to the poisoning of youths. But, I mean, it is everyone's right to go and frequent those shops if they so choose, and we will be, we won't obviously be selling to any minors. We'll be adhering to all tobacco laws in that regard, so.
As far as parking, can they use the city parking lot? Is that available, or what's the requirements on that?
Madam Hearing Examiner, even the parking lots adjacent is still considered public parking.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
correct. So and then to her point, we forgot that they are closing that curb cut and adding 2 parking spaces
Okay.
theoretically to the overall area. So there's some additional parking being done there
Okay. But they are meeting the parking requirements.
through the downtown code, yes.
Downtown code, okay. Because one of the neighbors was concerned about the in and out traffic, people circling around and stuff. So how are you going to address that with your clientele if this gets approved? Are you going to be telling them that they could park across the street, or?
We definitely can. I don't know that we're kind of waiting to kind of address those concerns to see exactly where this goes, and then we can get a better plan and made for that circumstance. Yeah, if that is available, we will absolutely direct people there so that way there is less traffic.
Okay. And then as far as anything that's for sale in the store, that's all going to be legal, correct? I'm assuming that
Absolutely,
you'll be
yes.
meeting our state
Yes.
requirements.
Yep.
Okay. Is there anything else? Oh, what about safety? I think that one of the neighbors expressed some safety. There's, for the residential unit that's down the street.
Okay, just as far as like the clientele that's coming in?
I think
or-
he was just worried about more in and out, and that their kids are play on the street in that area. That, do you have anything to
mean,
say about that?
We can definitely, in the Ontario store, because it's a similar situation, very limited parking downtown, and it's a myriad of different businesses. We just tell everyone that comes in and out to be respectful of where they are and just pay attention. So same with here, we would just have everyone be mindful that, yes, there are children that are next door.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
With that, I'm going to close the public hearing. And when I look at these applications, I can only look at the code and what's allowed or if it's not allowed use. And this is an allowed use with the current zoning, with the special use permit. So with that, I am going to approve this application based on the staff report, findings, and public testimony that was given today. So, thank you. All right, on to number 2. Public hearing, case number ZON 25-2, applicant Brighton Corporation on behalf of LME Group LLC is requesting a zoning map amendment for parcel R3582611A from C3 to R3. All right, staff, Joe, take the lead.
Thank you, ma'am. Wait for a couple people to clear out for a second. Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. As noted, this is for Ustick and Lake rezone. Today is July 16th, 2025. I am Joe Dodson, the principal planner here at the City of Caldwell. Before you today, not tonight, is the northwest corner of Lake and Ustick. The property is approximately 1.5 acres. It is located near the drive-in theater to the east. There's offices to the southeast at the opposite corner, a church and school to the south, and county residential directly to the west and north, with a residential development a little further to the west and southwest. As far as approved developments, that includes a couple of the ones I just mentioned. The large one on number 1 would be Hoshaw. Number 2 is Homestead at Wilson Creek, which is one lot, but there's multiple smaller buildings on it, like a essentially single-family unit or duplex, but it's all multiple of them on one lot.
Okay.
Similar with Solstice, they have a mix of single-family as well as other ones. I put single-family, that's actually not all the way true. There's a few duplexes and fourplexes from my understanding. And then number 4 would be Alante Homes, which is similar to Homesteads at Wilson Creek. The request before you is for a rezone of approximately 2.6 acres of land from C3 to R3. And the discrepancy in that acreage is that when you do a rezone, same as when you do an annexation, you change the zoning of the adjacent right-of-way. And so that's where that discrepancy is. But the
Okay.
property itself is only 1.5 acres, 1.57 to be exact. The purpose of the rezone is to go from C3 to R3 for the purpose of constructing an affordable multifamily housing project in the future. That proposed use does require a special use permit council level application, which they have submitted and will go concurrently to city council with this rezone.
What was that for, the application for that?
The SUP council level.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they only have to do one hearing for that, so it goes straight to council. As far as the comprehensive plan, the subject site is designated as neighborhood 3 within the newly adopted comp plan. Neighborhood 3 place type is primarily residential and anticipates a variety of denser housing options. These include multifamily, townhomes, mixed use, and live-work units. Single-family homes are not typically found within this place type, but they may be present if they're in small lot development or cottage courts. If commercial is proposed, medium-level commercial may be found and is usually located along major roadways. However, commercial development is also not the primary focus of this place type. Apartment buildings of a variety of scales, as well as missing middle housing, is the anticipated land use within the Neighborhood 3 place type. It is meant to provide a transition from the Neighborhood 2 place type, which is the more brown to the southwest, more brown colored one in the southwest, and helps define this place type as a transition between overall intensities, hence why it's between mixed use and community center, or mixed use and the Neighborhood 2. It's meaning to be a transition of intensity between. If residential development is proposed within this designation, the density range is 4 to 20 units per acre and up to 25 if they utilize the density bonus program. Within the adjacent site, everything directly adjacent is Neighborhood 3, but as you can see to the west, along the Eustic Corridor and much of the Eustic Corridor on the larger map, is community center, which anticipates mix of uses, both commercial and higher density residential, and same with mixed use being probably more commercial focused than residential. But to the east, along mixed use, that's Cleveland Boulevard, as we all know, has a lot of commercial uses, and so my understanding from the applicant and what they described in their narrative is this is within walking distance of needed services for a residential development rather than a C3 commercial use. To that end, the rezone to R3 is compatible with the Neighborhood 3 designation. Let me just make sure I'm catching that right. The R3 zone is slated to provide areas which allow multifamily residential, townhomes, row housing, mixed-use buildings, and live-work units. The proposed R3 is compatible with this location due to the transition of land use and density based on the purpose statement of the zone. In addition, the R3 zone is compatible with the Neighborhood 3 designation, and the existing C3 is not. So technically, they're requesting to be in more compliance than what the current designation is. As noted, this rezone is for the purpose of constructing an affordable multifamily project. That land use falls under the dwelling multifamily apartments large scale, which does require that SUP council level, which they have already submitted and is going to go forward, barring the recommendation today. Because the requested rezone does not have any specific development at this time, it should be reviewed against its conformity to the comp plan and the surrounding area, and the proposed R3, again, is the more compatible zoning than the existing C3. As far as access, the subject site will have adequate site access and all utilities. Just for reference, there is no site access to this except at the very southwest corner, which is required to be a shared access with the adjacent, I'll go back to this, the gray is a C1 parcel. They've similar situation to this in that they've rezoned many years ago and they just haven't developed, but they are required to have a shared access there, and the curb cut is already there.
Okay.
Utilities are readily available in the adjacent right-of-way, and the engineering department did not provide any comments on this because it's just a rezone. With the council level SUP they have and will provide comments.
Great.
As far as agencies, there were no comments received from any outside agencies, and there was no written testimony received prior to this hearing, whether in favor or against. There actually were no site-specific conditions regarding the rezone, just that they have to do a DA mod, or I should say, with the rezone, they will be modifying the existing DA from the original annexation.
Is that going to be heard with council then, with
Yes.
their other application? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Therefore, staff recommends that if the hearing examiner recommends approval of this request, that it's subject to the conditions as specified within the findings, fact, conclusions of law, and order of decision. And I will stand for any questions.
Thanks, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you think it got to C3? Was there a previous application, or what?
There was an original annexation. I honestly cannot remember the year. I think it was many years ago, and it was anticipated to have commercial uses, but it's just sat vacant for many years, at least 10 from what I remember. And yeah, it's just kind of sat there. My understanding is that with C3 especially, but most commercial uses being located on a hard corner of a roundabout, there's been a lot of commercial users that are like, I don't want to deal with it. Because access is more limited than a traditional signalized intersection. And so a lot of these are being requested to change uses from a commercial use. So I think that's driving some of this as well.
And then I know you went over the area, but to the south, what was that again? That's like
It's-
directly across the street?
It's a church with, I believe, like a church school in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's across Lake? That,
Directly to the east is the drive-in theater.
right, and then south of
And then
that?
southeast is the office buildings.
So there is some commercial
There's some
in that
commercial there,
area.
yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, those were there before the roundabout went in, from my understanding.
And then in the application, they talk about affordability, affordable housing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's kind of a broad statement. I mean, how does the city of Caldwell define affordability? And is that in line with what they are proposing this afternoon?
Great question, Madam Hearing Examiner. The way we define it, we technically have multiple definitions because with the new comp plan, we broadened what that means and actually broke up the different income levels. But what they're proposing is to use the low-income housing tax credits, as far as I'm aware,
Okay.
which have certain deadlines and they're coming up.
Okay,
But
right.
they're utilizing those to have income-restricted housing. Although it's not part of this technical application, they're proposing 35 units, from my understanding, and then 31 of those are proposed to be income restricted with for market rate in order to have a mix of incomes, which is something that I believe the financing requires nowadays
Okay.
to get those tax credits. And that is something very specifically outlined within the comp plan that is needed through our existing conditions report that we did, that say that there's a majority of our housing, like 60%, is needed for those that make 80% of the area median income or less. So
yeah.
this type of project would help mitigate some of those issues.
Okay, great. Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Would the applicant or the applicant's representative like to come up? State your name and address for the record, please.
Amanda McNutt, 2929 West Navigator, Meridian, Idaho, 83642. Can you pull up my presentation, please? Please. Yes. Okay. Well, you can just go to the first area there. Thank you. So first of all, I want to thank staff and Madam Hearing Examiner for holding this special meeting. It was really important to us to be able to get in front of you. As Joe alluded to, we have some deadlines that we need to meet, and so this was very critical to get this done, so it's really, really appreciated that you were able to do that. Joe covered this pretty well, but I'll go into it in a little bit more detail. The current comp plan that was adopted recently designates this area as Neighborhood 3. Next slide, please. Try clicking. Thank you. So compatible zones are some residential zones and some commercial zones. Currently, we're zoned C3, which is not considered a compatible zone, and so we are proposing to rezone to an R3. Those primary land uses for that area would be medium-density residential and high-density residential. Next slide. This shows currently it is C3, and then we would be rezoning to R3. And I apologize, as Joe stated, we would go to the center of the right-of-way there. Next slide. This is just a graphic kind of showing you what the proposed development will be in the future, but again, that isn't part of this application. But I did want to highlight that it is intended to be something that's thoughtful, that fits in the area, and that will add some beauty and diversity to that area. Next slide. This is another aerial view of that development. This is a slightly older aerial. I just want to note that the back building is actually going to be a little lower. Next slide. Other than that, I don't have a lot to add, but we do request a recommendation of approval if you so choose, and I'll stand for any questions.
Great. Thank you. So can we, kind of the same question I asked Joe, can you kind of define affordability that you guys will be providing, and that what income levels this is going to help?
Yes. So it will be deed restricted. Again, 31 of the 35 units will be deed restricted, and it's for income levels of 120% of AMI or lower.
Okay, great. And as far as the neighbors to the north, so how did that neighborhood meeting go, and particularly the larger county lots on Muffin Street?
Yes,
I like that street name.
I know.
Can you discuss that a little bit more and kind of walk me through how the shared access and how that's going to play out?
Yes, absolutely. So the neighborhood meeting was not very well attended.
Okay.
We had one resident from Muffin who was very agreeable, actually, to the project. They work with Brighton in a professional capacity, and they kind of know our work and know what we're about, and we're happy to see that it was going to be us there and not someone else. The only request that they had was that we provide fencing, which we had already planned to do, but we said absolutely that, that's something that we can accommodate. The only other person in attendance was the commercial user to our west. And that is who we would be sharing that access with. And that was one of their primary concerns, was how's that going to work? Who's going to build it? Those kind of things, which we have since worked out with them. I believe that agreement is in place. That agreement is in place. We're working on it. Okay. Either way, we've been in very constant communication with that gentleman. I think that we're on very good terms with those neighbors. And I kind of expected more involvement from the Muffin Lane residents, but we actually haven't heard anything else other than that one person. And they do own 2 homes and parcels right against our development. So I guess they're probably the closest people to what would actually be developed there.
Affected, okay. And then just follow up the fencing, Joe, that'll be addressed during their special use permit and other applications?
Madam Hearing Examiner, that's correct. Technically, I'm trying to think now of the multifamily code. I don't believe fencing is required.
Okay.
However, if they propose it, I'll require that they keep it.
Okay.
And they are required to still propose a buffer, which the latest site plan that I saw had the buffer.
Had the buffer,
So
fabulous, okay.
and they thankfully chose a site design that pulled the buildings away from the residential.
Okay, I read
And
that,
so
yes.
that's-
It's tearing down
Yeah.
to match that, okay, great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next to speak, I have Nate Phillips.
I'll make a comment.
Thanks, Nate. Name and address, please.
Nate Phillips, 2929 West Navigator Drive. I also work at Brighton. I just wanted to, in terms of the AMI, or the area median income, 31 of those units are anticipated to be restricted to 60% of the area median income or lower.
Okay, great.
Is the current anticipation and kind of how the tax financing
Okay.
works with that. Just wanted to clarify.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Is there anyone else here that'd like to speak on this application?
I just had one question.
Come on up. Give me your name and address, please.
My name is Dan Robertson, and I currently live at 17070 Madison Road in Nampa, but Muffin Lane I own.
You own the Muffin Lane? Did you
Yes,
name it?
And my only concern was that the residents, I own the first 2, and I didn't know if they were going to try to use Muffin Lane as an access to that property.
Oh, okay. Can we bring up the site plan so we can take a look at it? Thank you.
Madam Hearing Examiner, to answer the question, there is no access proposed out to Muffin Lane. And so originally, planning and engineering were like, yeah, let's take access out to it so they have 2 access points. However, cooler heads prevailed after discussing with the applicant and realized that Muffin Lane is private. Having a different project take access to that when now you got to deal with the maintenance agreements and et cetera, it would just be kind of a pain and at the end of the day, probably not provide that much relief anyways from where the existing or the allowed access is. So we just decided not to do that, and then the applicant agreed, and they're not providing any access out to Muffin Lane. So it'll all come down to Eustic.
Okay. And there'll be enough separation between Muffin and Eustic?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Great. Does that answer your question
Well,
then?
yeah, the Muffin Lane is used every day by people just to turn around, and we
Sure.
just want people going down to the end of the lane to private residences thinking that it goes through. I don't
Sure.
know how, you know, like I said, there's
No, that's
hundreds
understandable.
of cars that turn around. It's kind of, when they made the wrong turn, that's where they all turn around at.
Okay. I think it sounds like they'll be having their own access
All
point,
right.
so you
Thank you.
should be safe. Okay, thank you. Doesn't seem like anyone else would like to testify. So would the applicant or applicant's representative like to come back up for rebuttal?
Thank you. The only thing I'll say is we did talk about that muffin access. Originally, we had actually had a sidewalk that kind of attached that, and we did get rid of that because it does sort of seem like, oh, if there's a sidewalk, maybe I can park up there. So we were hoping to eliminate any possible things that people would try to park or turn around up there. I think once residences are actually living there, they'll understand that going up to Muffin does them no good. But, you know, to the residents' point, could it happen? You know, it could happen. But I think other people get more turned around that aren't used to that area rather than people who are going to be living there and know the area a little bit better.
Sure. Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I will close this hearing, and based on the staff report, findings, and public testimony, I will recommend approval of ZON 25-2, special use, or for the rezone, excuse me. Thank you. All right, on to our last and final item. So, let me just make sure I have it in the right order. This is a public hearing, SUP 25-1, applicant James Steele of CH1 LLC is requesting a special use permit for an event venue within a 1,200 square foot airplane hangar to be located on the airport property. Development is located just southwest of the airport terminal building near the intersection of East Linden Street and Smead Parkway. Okay, staff report, please.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Darlene Davis, Planner 1, 205 South 6th Avenue in Caldwell. Before you today is an SUP application for CH1 LLC event venue, SUP 25-1. The subject site is located on the northeast side of the Caldwell Executive Airport, adjacent to the Hubler Terminal. The site will be accessed off of Smead Parkway. The site is on a city-owned airport parcel and is surrounded by other airport parcels on the northwest, west, and south. There are also some industrial and county parcels to the north, northeast, and east. The site and surrounding parcels are designated for airport use in the airport master plan. On May 5th of this year, the City Council approved a request to rezone the subject parcels along with other adjacent parcels from M1 zoning district to the AD Airport District zoning district. The applicant proposes to operate an event venue within a hangar to be constructed on land leased from the airport. This facility is intended to serve as a venue for various social events, such as weddings and quinceañeras. The hangar isn't allowed use in the airport zone, but the event center use requires a special use permit. The site and adjacent parcels are designated as special purpose in blue on the comprehensive plan map. This designation applies to areas that are intended for distinct and specialized function within the city, such as the airport. Staff finds that the proposal aligns with the city's strategic vision for growth in the Caldwell Executive Airport area. The airport zoning encourages uses that are that provide support to airport operations, services to airport users. In that sense, staff finds that the proposal for airport theme event center consistent with the intent of the zoning district. The proposed event center is anticipated to enhance the range of services available to airport users and aviation-related businesses and the community. The relevant public agencies were notified of this public hearing, and some provided comments. The airport director, Scott Swanson, expressed support for the proposal. The fire and engineering departments have approved the project and provided conditions of approval. And the engineering department has specifically provided conditions pertaining to the extension of the Smead Parkway. And we also notified the public, but we received no comments from said public. The proposed development project has been analyzed for compliance with city code, and staff finds that the project meets all zoning requirements for parking. The applicant has provided 60 spaces, which satisfy the minimum code requirement. All necessary utilities are or will be available as outlined in the engineering staff report and must meet City of Caldwell requirement. The proposed access road, Smead Parkway, will be constructed in accordance with the engineering department requirement and city standards. The proposed landscaping for the parking lot and street buffer will be reviewed as part of the hangar's building permit process and in coordination with the airport director, and also require final approval from the planning department. The current staff report as it is right now includes a condition of approval regarding landscaping. Staff has decided since the report's published to remove this condition after discussion with the airport director and in recognition of difficulties and limitations relating to landscaping on airport properties for safety reasons.
Okay.
But staff will review it at building permit.
So will you require landscaping then?
We won't require it, but if the applicant proposes it,
Okay,
we will review it.
okay, gotcha.
The applicant in their submitted narrative has requested an occupancy range of 150 to 200 individuals, although the request has since changed based on conversation with the applicants. The Planning and Zoning Department recommends putting a maximum occupancy of limit of 200 individuals as a condition of approval for the event center. This condition, this recommendation is based on consideration related to parking capacity and overall functionality of the site. The applicant shall grant an navigation easement to the city as a condition of approval prior to issuance of certificates of occupancy. Staff recommends that should the hearing examiner approve the special use permit, that such approval be subject to conditions of, as specified in the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and order of decision. Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. I will stand for questions.
Great, thank you, Garlene. So the parking capacity we had at 150, and we're gonna bump it up to 200 now, as far as And we feel like they have adequate parking in the area.
Well, thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. At first, staff determined 150, but after discussion with the applicant, staff raised the limit to 200, and that is considering mainly the 60 parking spaces provided on the site plan. And our recommendation for 200, we have not considered any other parking arrangement, specifically parking arrangement with the airport terminal and also off-street, on-street parking, which will be something the applicant can discuss.
Okay, great. Okay. Would the applicant like to come up? Give me your name and address for the record, please.
My name is James Steele, address 2227 West Nilska Drive, Nampa, Idaho 83651. The building's address is tentatively 4916 Linden Street. I put that on my paperwork here. Yeah, so everything they said sounds right and accurate. I'm here to discuss parking a little bit more. As previously discussed, I've got this pretty poster board. Madam Examiner.
And then James, before you continue, we need to reference that he is referencing exhibit.
Yes, Madam Hearing Examiner, the exhibit that the applicant is presenting is part of Exhibit 1 on the staff report, right behind the project narrative.
Perfect. Thank you. Continue, James.
Thank you, ma'am. So, as Gerlene stated, we've got 60 spots. They're going to give us 200. To compete with other venues in the valley, 250, 300, no one's really over 300. There's quite a few that have 250. I don't personally think we're going to have 250, 300 very often, but if we can't advertise that and provide that, it might be an issue. As stated previously, we do have a parking agreement for after hours, weekends, and holidays with the Hubler Terminal Building, which is a city-owned building. We've got permission and a letter from Scott saying we can still use this for overflow. Smead Parkway has not been made yet. It may be years. It may be coming sooner than that. There's a lot of development interests. The city has hired the civil engineers, JUB. There's a Toby who's designed all this for the city, and this is their latest design. This is as of about 4 weeks ago or so. This is what Scott wants. This is what Toby wants. This is what they're going with. There have been many designs in the last 3 to 7 years. No big investors have come in and taken the opportunity yet, but they're here. They're in the wings now. I know some of the guys. So as this road gets developed, I'm going to have at least 15 spots here. There's at least 350 feet here on both sides of the road. As discussed with Joe earlier, there won't be any parking in the roundabout, but I think we can add another 30 spots out front, and then I've got 30 spots over here also during weekends and evenings and federal holidays where they're not using these hardly. So I'd like to try, I'm requesting, Madam Examiner, I'd like to try to get 250 and then maybe 300 once this road goes in. I can, so these taxiways, there's not funding for this taxiway. This is federally funded. It's not coming till 2029 at the earliest per Scott Swanson, and we should be operating this venue with any luck and hope by May of next year. So for 2 or 3 years, there may be no one's going to even start anything on this side because no one's going to, private investors, no one's done this because private investors aren't paying for taxiways. They're extremely expensive, $2 million to go like 200 yards. So when that funding comes, obviously we could dismantle or disassemble a dirt parking lot. But I can absolutely build out to it's kind of east-southeast and put another 50 parking spots out there. Mm-hmm. Easy, no problem, cheap in a weekend. We've got our pad built now, and I've already put in an all-weather road access from Linden. It was the engineering department's request. As you know, we can do dirt work in Idaho without a permit. So we went ahead and did that in planning for. So we've already got access for fire to the job site. There was something that you said, Garlene, about an navigation easement. I don't know what that term is.
Okay.
Madam Hearing Examiner, I can address that. This is a document that all businesses within the APO 1 and APO 2 overlay, just recognizing that you are in that area that will be affected by the airport, like noise pollution and things, and that you are fine with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no problem. So, Madam Examiner, I'm asking for an additional 50 spots for now. I'd like to run this with 250, and then when this road gets built out, add another 50 to a max of 300. But obviously, that's up to you.
So let's discuss staff. So you're comfortable 200. He would like 250. Is there a way we can condition that? Like, he said that he could maybe do a gravel or parking lot adjacent. Is that something we could condition in order to bump up his number to make it more comfortable?
Madam Hearing Examiner, good question. The occupancy for these types of things is always tricky.
I know.
And it's always based off of what's there, what could be there, if somebody does a valet service, if they launch people from the moon, whatever the words I get thrown at me when it comes to these types of event centers. All the things that he presented are true. That's what has been discussed. That's what the plan is. JUB is currently working on, my understanding, the master plan, both from a concept of physical infrastructure and also landscaping and other things around to kind of beautify and bring a true master plan back to the airport. That's not just how many taxiways are we going to have.
Right.
And so those things are in the works. 250, 300, I think from a staff perspective was pushing the envelope a bit, but if you're comfortable with it and has certain trigger points, that's fine. Again, there's always, from a planning perspective, that hard nexus to make of like, okay, it's this many square footage, but, you know, building occupancy is never usually the same as what can actually functionally be
Right.
used.
Right, and if I can address that real quick, we are following the total plan. So per square footage for a building, an assembly building, per cash, like that building could hold north of 500 per architect, per code, per local law. It's parking and planning and zoning. So we have to heat it, we have to sprinkle it, we have to air condition it to deal with 600 people, I believe is the number inside there for a 12,000 square foot building space. So it's above and beyond built to capacitate that. I don't ever want to deal with more than 250 or 300 people at a time. But with the consideration of bumping it to 250 and then 300 when the road goes out, that makes me way more, like, I don't want to have an asphalt parking lot and then a nice building. I'm going to want to put some trees in it and some shrubs. Scott Swanson has, the airport superintendent, he's kind of verbalized a little bit against trees on airports. He thinks it's, I don't know if the word silly he used, I understand that. But I definitely want to put grass in between the planter lots, if not small shrubs or trees or short trees. I do not want a cement, I just don't want cement out there. It's got to look, it's too hot. You've got to cool it down with something.
So how many parking spots, James, are in for the city of Caldwell?
There's about 40 there, and they've got about 4 vehicles that sit. So they also have a private business that's now renting out part of their Hubler terminal. That's called Springbok Aviation, and they've given them, I think, 3 spots. So on a night or a weekend when they're not there, there's about 25 available spots.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, and clearly, you want your business to be successful, and if you
Right.
don't have adequate parking,
Right.
no, that's going to make people mad.
Right.
They show up and you don't have parking. I'm okay with 250. I don't know how I can condition it to 3 with the road. I mean, what do you think, Joe?
250 is great. I appreciate 250.
Would you be okay if we compromised on
Yep.
250? Okay.
Absolutely, no problem.
I think I'm fine with that, so.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
So, do you want us to just go ahead and, I'm sorry, Madam Hearing Examiner, we can go ahead and amend the conditions of approval?
Yes.
And you're fine with us just putting at 250?
250,
Okay,
yes.
sounds good, thank
Yeah,
you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm comfortable because it's not a residential area, so I think that they'll find parking out
And
there.
then and then obviously it's on record, during any types of voting, they hold voting polls over there in the terminal building a
Okay.
couple times a year, and it gets slammed, and people park on Linden, and it's nasty. during those times, they can come and use my parking lot, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
100%.
We'll let them know that when that time comes.
Yeah,
So, great. Thanks, James.
that's all I got.
Anything
Thanks.
else? Okay.
No, I'm leaving this for you guys if you guys want to hang on to it. If
Okay.
you don't, I'll take it.
With that,
We have a
we will close our last item, public hearing item for this afternoon. And based on the staff report, findings, public testimony, I will approve SUP 25-1. Thank you. Okay. And what time is it? It's
Madam Hearing
2:44.
Examiner?
Oh, are we not done?
In your motion, can you just specifically state with the
Oh.
added condition or modified condition of the capacity being to 250?
Yes, we will modify that condition from 150, or from 200 to 250 for that condition. And then we're going to be striking any landscaping requirement conditions as well, correct? Okay.
And ma'am, I'm going to bring in some landscaping.
Okay, I believe you. You're good. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We are closed now. It is 2:45, and we'll close the public hearing for this today. Thank you.